विशावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Bhaskar. Two questions. The first question, reference. Bhagavad Gita chapter 4 verse 27. Bhagavad Gita chapter 4 verse 27. Okay. Verse translation, the commentary reads, others sacrifice all the functions of the senses and the functions of the vital airs into the fire of yoga of self-control kindled by wisdom. Okay. This term kindled by wisdom gives a meaning that wisdom triggers the self. Wisdom triggers the self-control and hence wisdom is the ahuti. Kindly clarify. Okay. So Bhaskar is saying, others sacrifice all the functions of the senses and the function of the vital airs into the fire of the yoga of self-control kindled by wisdom. This term kindled by wisdom gives a meaning that wisdom triggers the self-control and hence wisdom is the ahuti. Kindly clarify. Yeah. This is the question. Whenever you have a difficulty with the English word and the concept, you should immediately refer to the Sanskrit word. Refer to the Sanskrit word. The Sanskrit word here is Juhvati Jnana Deepite, kindled by wisdom. Deepa means shines. In English language, we have to use the word kindling. That's what it is because of the English language the word kindled is used. Actually speaking, the Sanskrit word here is Jnana Deepite. Jnana Deepite means knowledge shines forth. Deepa means prakasha, shines forth. So what it means is knowledge shines forth. So first is he is making it very clear that into the fire of yoga of self-control. So first thing is he is ensuring that you don't get this misunderstanding. Into the yoga of the fire of self-control. So the fire itself means where the ahuti is. Therefore, the very word itself, into the fire of sarvani indriya karmani prana karmani chapare apare, others sarvani indriyani prana karmani atma samyama yoga now. Atma samyama yoga now. This Atma Samyama Yoga now implies in the fire of yoga of self-control. So there the ahuti is very clearly established, where Krishna is directly saying what is the ahuti. What is the ahuti? Ahuti here is the fire of, into the fire of yoga of self-control. So yoga of self-control is the ahuti here. when this is the Ahuti, what is kindled? Jnana Deepite. Jnanam is kindled. Wisdom. Now knowledge is kindled. For all practical purposes, what it should have been? Into the fire of yoga of self-control, shining in knowledge. If you write it as into the fire of yoga of self-control, shining in knowledge in English language, it looks so. In English language, it looks very odd. It looks very absurd. You can't make in English language, you can't make it like that. But then you have to capture the concept. So what is the concept? Kindled by wisdom. Jnana Deepite. So wherever you have a doubt, wherever you have a difficulty with the concept and the English word, straight away you should refer to the original Sanskrit word. Refer to the original Sanskrit word. You will get some clarity. If you don't understand the Sanskrit word, also no problem. Yeah, ask me. Yeah. We will do English class, we'll do Sanskrit class, we'll do Vedanta class. All kinds of classes happens. Here. Yeah. So it is clear that the the Ahuti is self-control, wisdom is kindled. Seriya, Bhaskar?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Understood,
sir. This is the first clarification.
Okay.
The second clarification, same verse, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 27, reference. Last paragraph in the commentary reads. I'm reading the paragraph from the commentary. The last paragraph of the commentary reads, the yoga of self-control arises out of wisdom. As you grow wiser with the knowledge of the self, you become united with the self. You become one with the self. You have risen above involvement in the functions of the organs of perception and action. Now the question. This para also gives an understanding that wisdom is the cause and yoga of self-control is the effect. Kindly clarify the Ahuti and the kindling part that is involved in this verse. Kindly also clarify how verse 26 flows into verse 27. Now, the first thing. Self-control, now what you need to understand here is we are not talking about the absolute state of self-realization here. More you practice self-control, more you gain knowledge. More you gain knowledge, more self-control you will be able to practice. You have to understand the context of the verse, what he means by wisdom. More you practice self-control, more you will be wiser. More wiser you are, that much more self-control you will be able to practice. So, if you see the Ulta logic, it will be very clear that first you have to have wisdom, then only you have to practice self-control. What Bhaskar is saying is, first gain wisdom, then practice self-control. Yeah. In the self-control, he is saying that. So, now first we will gain wisdom. From wisdom, out of that wisdom, self-control will happen automatically. Now, how you will gain wisdom? The challenge here is, okay, out of wisdom you will be a practice. Now, the question is how you will gain? How you will gain wisdom? Oh, wisdom comes through knowledge and understanding, sir. Correct. How would you gain knowledge and understanding? So much of knowledge is there already. So much of understanding is there already. So much of knowledge and understanding where for sure I know that all of us who are sitting and listening can easily give a 1 hour non-stop discourse. Easily. There won't be a difficulty at all in giving a 60 minutes, 90 minutes discourse on the subject. Easily for everybody. You attend the classes a few weeks, a few months, you can easily give a discourse. Purilana Ganesh Kelungu. He will say that. Ask Ganesh, he will tell you. Ask Ganesh, he will tell you that. So you can easily give a discourse. So knowledge and understanding has happened, and because of this knowledge and understanding happened, no transformation has happened. Therefore, as a result of this, what does it mean? It means something is lacking in knowledge turning into a wisdom. What is it? Lacking in sense control, self-control. So here he says, you practice sense control and self-control, wisdom is kindled. As you become more wiser, more you would be able to practice sense control and self-control. It becomes a cycle. At some point of time, it will turn into a cycle. In Yajna, what is he saying is, what is it that you can start with? The very fact, for Arjuna himself, you should understand, for Arjuna himself, listening to the Vedas and the Vedantic knowledge, this is not the first time he is listening in the Bhagavad Gita battlefield, no. He has gone to Gurukula study. He has been 13 years. 13 years he has lived in the forest. In that 13 years that he has lived in the forest, he has seen any number of sages and saints. What they would have discussed? Politics, huh? What they would have discussed about how to take revenge on Duryodhana. What they would have discussed? They would have discussed only the... Arjuna may have wanted to discuss very many things, but what will the Rishi discuss? Any number of times Vyasa visited them. Now what did Vyasa teach them? Vidura, what did Vidura teach them? So, so as far as the knowledge wise is concerned, Arjuna himself knows this knowledge. So, are you able to follow? It is not that he is the first time he is listening to all this in the Bhagavad Gita battlefield. Though he knows it also, there is literally no change in him at all. So now Krishna taking that, Krishna takes that stance. Krishna takes that stance. What is the stance that he takes now? He takes the stance of saying sense control, self-control. Sense control and self-control. The primary qualification for Vedantic knowledge. Now there are two types of students who seek this Vedantic knowledge. There are two types of people who seek this knowledge. One is a student, another is a Sishya. Two types of people seek this knowledge. One is a student, another is a Sishya. Now, what is the student type? A student type says, you teach me the information. You teach me the information. You don't correct me. You need not tell me where I am going wrong and all that. You don't have to tell me. Teach me the knowledge, and there the story ends. Sishya says, I am not keen on the words that you are communicating and all that. I stand in front of you for correction. Are you able to follow till now? I stand in front of you for correction. It means teach me this knowledge. What is the definition of knowledge? See, 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, only in the 13th chapter, he defines what knowledge is. Arjuna asks, what is jnanam? What is jnayam? What is jnanam? What is knowledge? In the 13th chapter, he defines what is knowledge. And how he defines knowledge in the 13th chapter. The e-learning course, sir, 13th chapter. We don't remember what is done in the 13th chapter of the Gita. What is done in the 13th chapter of the Gita? What he defines as jnanam in the 13th chapter. Amanitvam, Madambitvam, Ahimsa, Shanti, Arjavam. 20 qualities is what he calls as jnanam. So according to Krishna, what is jnanam? What is the definition of knowledge? The 20 attributes. The person who has these 20 qualities is what? Is a knowledgeable person according to me, Arjuna. It means those 20 qualities is not going to come through information. Those 20 qualities of knowledge can come only when I practice the sense control and self-control. Are you able to follow? Since that being the definition of knowledge and that being the factor, what should a person do? Practice. First, practice sense control. And after having sufficient mastery on sense control, practice self-control. By these, you develop jnanam. By these, you develop jnanam. Elsewhere, in the 7th chapter, he uses jnanam, vijnanam, sahitam. I will teach you knowledge. I will teach you wisdom also. Knowledge is information. Vijnanam is the 20 qualities. So jnanam is knowledge. Vijnanam means wisdom. Now what is that wisdom? In the 7th chapter he says, I will teach you knowledge. I will teach you wisdom also, Arjuna. How can he say I am teaching you wisdom? He can say I am teaching you knowledge is understandable. How can he teach wisdom? Yes, he teaches that also. And where he teaches that? In the 13th chapter only he teaches that. In the 13th chapter, he defines what is wisdom. 20 qualities he gives. Are you able to follow till now? Now, in this, the yoga of self-control arises out of wisdom. First statement, Bhaskar, you are perfectly correct. The very first statement says, yoga of self-control arises out of wisdom. The verse says, you practice self-control, you get. The verse says, you practice self-control, you get wisdom. Both means the same thing. They are not saying two different. They are not saying two different things. As you grow wiser with the knowledge of the self, you become united. You become united means what is union with the self means? Union with the self means the conviction in you becomes stronger and stronger that I am Atma Brahma. That conviction becomes stronger. That's union with the self. And to use the technical term, from the notion that I am the Anatma, I am the Jivatma என்றதுலேருந்து I am Atma Brahma என்றதுல conviction gets more and more. Only when the conviction is more and more on that, we can say you are uniting with the self. Till the time you develop this conviction, you can't say you are uniting with the self. So what is union with the self means? The conviction increases. What is the conviction? The conviction that I am Atma Brahma. I am Atma Brahma. The conviction increases. Now, the very conviction itself is increasing because of the vichara you are doing. Because of the constant discrimination. What is the constant discrimination? The constant discrimination of Nitya and Anitya. Yeah. Bhagavad Gita language lo solnunna, the constant discrimination between Kshetra and Kshetrajna. The constant discrimination between Purusha and Prakriti. The constant discrimination between Guna and Guna Atita. Yeah. Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga, he says. Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, he says. Vibhagamna enna? Segregating, separating, segregating, understanding it correctly. So you are able to do that clearly. When you are doing that, it means you are united with the self. Are you able to follow what is the statement united with the self means?
Yes,
The conviction, the conviction goes on increasing. What is the conviction? The conviction in these factors increases. When the conviction in these factors increases, what happens? As you grow wiser, you become united with the self, and finally you become one with the self. You have risen above involvement in the functions of the organs of perception and action. Yeah. Is it okay till now?
yes, sir. Understood, sir.
Yeah. Now, to answer the last part of your clarification, how does verse flow from 26 to 27? If you remember.
Yeah, yesterday you kind of clarified that, sir.
Yeah, correct. That's what I was about to say. When I was clarifying Raj's question, when I was explaining Raj's question, I explained the flow.
I understood that, sir. I was following you on that. Yes.
Yeah. The first is contact, excessive contact, but at least prevent. First stage is what? Avoid lingering. Avoid lingering implies what? It means excess in contact also happens sometimes. It doesn't really matter, but at least ensure that lingering doesn't happen. Number one. Number two, as long as you have, if you have taken some, don't take it 100% Allah. Reasonably good amount of control over lingering, then you can worry about moderation in the contact. First, contact is okay, but lingering is, effort is to stop lingering completely. Second is, the very contact itself, attempt is to moderate. The third stage is, you avoid the very contact itself. Yeah, are you able to follow? The three stages happens. So first he is saying, one sense organ, he says, he took one sense organ first. Not everything first. He took only one sense organ. And then he collectively took all the senses. And then he went into the self-control, which is of the mind and the intellect. So yeah. So I just quickly recapped yesterday what I told Raj, which is the same answer. I'm not going into the details. I'm not going to the explanation again. So yeah.
Yes.
Is it okay?
Yeah, it's fine, sir. And even the other one, the earlier part, because it's cyclic, wisdom and the self-control is so cyclic.
Correct.
So that's leading to a confusion there.
Correct.
So that also got clarified during a Sunday class.
Correct.
You mentioned it's like cyclic. So
yes.
By the time
cyclic.
It's cyclic. Okay.
It is cyclic. It is cyclic. In the cycle, the starting point always is the sense control and self-control.
Okay.
The starting point is that. Cycle nu solita edo or pedal althidana start pannanum. What is the first pedal? Edo or pedal althana you get momentum for the next pedal. After a period of time you are cruising. But yeah, first what is the pedal? Tamil they say no. கொஞ்சம் பெருசா இருக்கிற சைக்கிள்ல பசங்க உட்கார்ந்தாக்கா they do what is known as இல்லையா அதுக்கு என்ன பெடலிங் you know the name of that pedal?
குரங்கு pedal.
Correct. குரங்கு பெடல்னு வாங்காத. Another fellow will be like will twisted உட்கார்ந்துக்கிட்டு he will cycle and he will not go cyclically. He will go up and he will be like he'll go up and down in the same thing. அதுதான் சென்ஸ் கண்ட்ரோல் லிங்கரிங் எல்லாம் அவாய்ட் பண்றது அதுதான். ஆஃப்டர் அ வைல் when you have sufficiently managed that, then the cycle becomes complete. Yeah.
Okay, sir. So, sir, I have one additional question. Sorry if I can take it now.
Yeah.
So, in all these yajnas, sir, which we are talking about,
it's a separate question, Bhaskar.
Can I bring it up, or maybe I'll bring it to the end after the whole thing is over?
Yeah, after the end, because
okay, sir.
Because there is already a couple of questions that I have to, and the order la
Sure, I'll come in the end after.
Yeah, I will take up the clarification I have, then I will come back to you.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Huh?
Thank you.
Now, Manohar is not asking a question. He's saying, is my understanding right? There is no question there. Is my understanding right? Now, the padikami, I will say, understanding is right perfectly. Yeah, what all he has written, I didn't even read it. Straight away answer. What? Manohar, you are perfectly right. In understanding. Now, what is Manoharan saying? Yajna denotes conversion of any activity into worship. Correct. From Yajnas 3 to 5, one receives stimuli from the world and reacts within as Ahuti and kindling. From 6 to 9, one started offering the stimuli to the world in the form of his response. Correct. Quality of response graduates from gross to the subtle due to the wisdom gained from the earlier yajnas. Kindling material wealth through liberation. Correct. The 10th yajna, prana and apana, sustains all the three transactions with the life force. Very good. Perfect. The 11th, proper absorption of all the regulated intakes generates the much required inner strength. In the final yajna, the gained inner strength manifests as selfless action, as responses back into the world, completing the cycle. Correct. Manohar. For a change, correct. For a change. Okay, Manohar? Yeah. Okay. Now, Bharat. Bharat has a couple of clarifications. First one, with reference to verse 28, chapter 4, wealth is taken as a sacrifice. Is it the outcome of the effort that is synonymous with wealth in this verse? Verse number 28 talks about Dravya Yajna. So, in Dravya Yajna, in relation to Dravya Yajna, he's saying, is it the outcome of the effort that is synonymous with wealth in this verse? Correct. Wealth is always the phala, the result of your effort. The dravya that a person has, the wealth that a person has is always the result, the outcome of that person's effort only. Now, that effort he is sacrificing. When he is sacrificing the wealth, what is he sacrificing? Some portion of the phala he is sacrificing. Some portion of the phala he is sacrificing. In the physical action, the very action itself he is sacrificing. Here, he is doing some other activity. As a result of that activity, he gets a wealth, and that wealth is offered. In the Tapo Yajna, the very action itself is offered. Now, when I am offering this action, it means what? I am denying myself the Dravya Yajna collection activities. So, when I am doing this, I am denying myself the Dravya Yajna collection activities and sacrificing that activity, and this I am redirecting that action for the welfare of another. So because of that sacrifice, tapo yajna is superior to dravya yajna. Because of that change only. Because of that change only, we say dravya yajna is superior, tapo yajna is superior to dravya yajna. And then we go to the subtler. I'm not going into the details of the superiority of the yajna, for that is not the question here. Now, wealth means the phala, the result of one's, carefully follow now. Dravya, the wealth is the result of one's own dharmic way of acquiring it. That is very, very important. In the dharma, artha, kama, moksha, the artha that is acquired is supported by, is the acquisition of wealth happened through dharmic method. Now, the adharmic method என்றத பத்தி பேசவே கூடாது யஜ்ஞ கர்மால. So what is implied here is the wealth is acquired in the dharmic way, and when wealth is acquired in the dharmic way, there is a tendency to claim that as, there is a tendency to legitimately use it for one's own purposes. Because the very dharmic way of acquisition itself will give me a legitimacy. So what that person does here, he sacrifices that also. So when he is sacrificing wealth, what is he sacrificing? Not only he is sacrificing the wealth, he is sacrificing that legitimate right that he has on enjoying that wealth. Angadhan yajnava marar. Illana the just ordinary charity avladhan. Are able to follow? Otherwise it becomes just a very ordinary charity. And another, in yajna karma, I am always differentiating between the ordinary welfare actions versus yajna karma. Right through, if you notice, and the tune udama paadin irukren. I'm not changing the tune at all. That wherever there is a possibility, drawing the distinction. Now here, where I have the legitimate right to enjoy the wealth which is acquired by dharmic means, I deny myself that pleasure of enjoying it and I sacrifice it. So, the denying myself that pleasure for the welfare of another, that only is yajna. That only is yajna. Idha romba grossa. They say when you give with a pinch. They say when you are giving, there should be a pinch in the giving. There should be a pinch in your giving. Now, what does it mean? There has to be a denial of pleasure. Now you have all the legitimate right to enjoy that. You have all the legitimate right to use it in the way that you want to. And there is no adharma in that. If you are not giving, there is no adharma in that. But in yajna karma, what are you doing? You are denying yourself that pleasure for the pleasure of another. That is why in the commentary he beautifully says, your wealth decreases, the receiver's wealth increases. Beautiful that sentence, I tell you, one of commentary la dirkad. You can read that any number of times, that sentence itself. It looks so weird where the receiver is becoming wealthier and I am becoming poorer. What kind of yajna it is? What kind of a logic it is? It looks so absurd. It looks so weird. And yet this itself looks so high that where your wealth decreases and the receiver's wealth increases, and you are happy about it. You are happy that you are able to contribute to that. You are happy about it. Otherwise the general tendency is what? எல்லார்ட்டேந்து வாங்கி வாங்கி இவர் பெரிய ஆள் ஆயிட்டாரு. This fellow lived on collected, and he became rich, and we are all sitting in poverty. We are all sitting in poverty, whereas that fellow became rich. No. You sacrifice that. So, what is this Dravya Yajna? Wealth acquired in a dharmic way. Wealth acquired in a dharmic way, you don't see it. The wealth acquired in a dharmic way, it will not sit on you as a burden. The wealth acquired in a dharmic way will not sit on you as a burden. It will sit on you very lightly. Now, you can give up only when there is a burden. No, when it is sitting on you so lightly, when it is so legitimately yours, there is the question of giving itself in the first place. Yeah, that's the challenge. The whole challenge here is to understand it in that way, which is not, which is implied. So, when the wealth that is acquired in a dharmic way, which is sitting on me very lightly, and I can derive the pleasure from it, I am sacrificing it for the welfare of another. This is wealth. Now, so this wealth which is acquired by your effort and it is sitting light on you, and you believe that it is your right and you can do whatever you want to do, and it is also true that you can do whatever you want to do. If you go on a holiday, it is not adharma to go on a holiday. You go on a holiday and you blow it up in a casino, it is not adharma to blow it up in a casino, because it's the product of your effort. Now, the product of your effort, which is sitting lightly on you, which you have earned, which, carefully follow, I'm going deeper and deeper, which you have this much of wealth you have earned for your pleasure, you are giving that up. Why? Because you want the other to have that pleasure. It is not that you have understood it as useless and you are transferring the useless to another. It's not like that. You have the pleasure, you can enjoy the pleasure, but you want the other to have that pleasure and deny yourself that pleasure. Angada Dravya Yajna. Angada it becomes a Dravya Yajna, and konjam careful illanna in the Dravya Yajna, the amount of punya karma that you will gain, you will become the next Brahma. Upanishadla, they say, if you go on doing this, what will happen is you will get the highest position. The next kalpa, you will become the Brahma. Hiranyagarbha. You will become the Brahma. You will become the Hiranyagarbha. And so much of sacrifice is involved in this. It is not just simply giving away money. It's not like the example you give is when somebody comes and asks for money, you give a check. It is not as simple as that. For so many things are involved in this. And now, what makes you to do the sacrifice? Loka Sangraha. What makes you to do the sacrifice? You wish the happiness of another. You wish the happiness of the other. Lastly, right now, this is what you have legitimately. That's what you can give. Are you able to follow now? Lastly, why Dravya Yajna is because that's what in the Grihastha Ashrama level, what would you end up with legitimately at the end of the Grihastha Ashrama? What would you have finally? Only the artha, only the wealth. That is given. We don't use the word sharing here. We use the word giving. Analda Danathila Yajnathila rendu vidhamana. I have said this before also. Twice you always say na mama. One is when you pour the ahu, you will say na mama. Second is when you give dakshina also, you say na mama. Yeah. Vadiyar solluvar illaya, na mama sollungo அப்படிம்பார். Then I will say na mama. Then அதுல தண்ணி ஊத்தி இல்லையா கை கழுவிடணும். அதுதான் கை கழுவுறதுன்றது அங்கேருந்து வந்ததுதான் இல்லையா. அது கொஞ்சம் தண்ணி விட்டு கை கழுவியாச்சுன்னா what does it mean? It has gone to you, and the fact that it has gone to you and you are going to use it and derive a sukham out of it gives me sukham. Are you able to follow? I have given it up, and that person is going to get a sukham out of it, and that person experiencing the sukham is sukham to me. It's an identification. Responses is always in relation to the identification. What is identification? Whatever legitimately I have earned in a dharmic way alone is qualified to be the ahuti in the yajna. Yajna ahuti la podradhukku edu qualified? Not everything. That which has been acquired in a dharmic way alone is qualified to use in the yajna. So the wealth that is acquired in a dharmic way, abdindra connection angendu kondu varanum. Angendu kondu vanda it becomes easy to follow. Okay, Bharat. Somebody has to unmute. Yes, Bharat.
The reason I was asking, Guruji, is because in all the 12 yajnas, there's only yajna where a materialistic reference has been made.
Correct.
As a wealth.
Yes.
See, in everything else, it is not materialistic. It's all to do with perception. It's supposed to be our responses.
Correct.
Our entire thing.
Yes.
It's only yajna where they make a specific mention of wealth. So, I was trying to interpret the understanding of wealth as an effort, or like what you said, the fruits which you can, legitimate fruit, it comes from the dharmic way of performing an action. That is how it will be resulting in this.
Yes, it is a very good observation that artha, wealth is a distinct factor here. It's a very good observation. Why this is? Because of the four purusharthas, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Artha is a distinct purushartha. Artha, that's why in Vedanta, we don't have a negative attitude towards wealth. The Vedas, the Vedanta, in the Chaturveda Purushartha, when they talk about it, they talk about artha as one.
Okay.
Artha as one. The first Purushartha that we should try and aim and fulfill is artha. And artha and kama va fulfill legitimate dharmic way la fulfill pandradhukku irukradha grihastha ashrama. Because in brahmacharya ashrama also the fellow is supposed to live on bhavati bhiksham dehi. In sannyasa ashrama also that fellow is supposed to live on bhavati bhiksham dehi.
Bhiksham dehi, correct.
So on the rendu category da artha is not a purushartha. For those two categories, artha is not a purushartha. But for the vast majority who belongs to the category of grihastha ashrama, artha itself is the first purushartha. That is why in Vedanta we don't have a negative approach or a demeaning approach to wealth. ஒரு ஸ்டேஜ்ல அதை விடணும்னு தெரியாம இருக்கிறது தான் they call it as wrong. As it is useful at one stage, we don't understand that it is useless at another stage. And the another the uselessங்கிற ஸ்டேஜுக்கு மெச்சூர் ஆகாம இருக்கிறது தான் they call it as wrong. The very acquisition of artha itself is not wrong. It cannot be wrong. And the very Vedas themselves have declared of the 4 Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha has been brought in as a very specific. As a very specific Purushartha. Why? Because Artha is needed for Yajna Karma. Artha is needed for Yajna Karma. If you have to do Yajna Karma, you need a lot of Artha. Supposing you have to do, let us say, one Chandi Yajna. How much of Artha is required for that?
Yeah, correct.
How much of Artha is required for that? So, Artha becomes so Artha is seen as a Artha, you are told to pursue that. Vedanta says, the Vedanta says, acquire wealth. This part of acquire wealth ங்கிறத பத்தி நம்ம இப்பலாம் இந்த கிளாஸ்ல எல்லாம் பேசுறதே கிடையாது. ஏன்னா we are already doing it a lot. அதை விட்டு வெல்ல வாங்குன்னு சொல்றதா இப்ப பேச வேண்டியதா இருக்கு. But if you take the traditional way of studying the Vedas, first they say acquire it. Acquire it as a means to perform. Acquire it as a means to perform yajna.
Yes.
So Krishna being a very orthodox, Krishna is a very orthodox man. So in the 12 yajnas, he is bringing the 4 Purusharthas also. By bringing in the 4 Purushartha, he is specifically talking about Artha as something that Artha as something that ought to be pursued.
Pursued.
It has to be pursued. In the same way, Kama also has to be pursued. Some desires has to be pursued. As you pursue it, they say, ensure that you get out of it also. A few experiences should be enough to understand the futility of it, and then you should get out.
Correct. Absolutely.
A few experiences would help you to understand the futility of it so that you can get out of it. For a person who has not experienced it, to say that wealth is no use, pursuing desires and all is of no use, sounds very vague, sounds very theoretical. Kutarkava, they will turn back and say, but to run the academy, you also need wealth, no? Abdina, wealth becomes a necessary thing to pursue. Then it means we don't have a proper understanding of where Vedanta says pursue wealth, and where they say artham anartham also. The same Vedanta says pursue of the Purusharthas, one is artha. The same Vedanta says artham anartham bhave nityam, as in Bhajagovindam. So we feel like asking, is it yes or no? Teliva onnu solunga. Yes or no? Modern day terminology example kudugunna, howsoever the hospital is wonderful, howsoever the hospital is beautiful, howsoever the doctors are loving, howsoever the nurses are caring, howsoever the bill is also very less, you would not want to stay there for
permanently, never.
One extra day, no? Very lovely nurses, very lovely doctors, everything is so nice. I will stay for one more day. Will anybody say that?
Never.
Never. Never they will say that. So they want us to experience so that we can get out of it. Also, the concept of artha has to be brought in because Arjuna is a grihastha student who still has a lot of value for artha. In fact, Mahabharatam Vare, it is Krishna that brought in the angle of dharma, no? If Krishna didn't bring in the angle of dharma, what is that battle between Kauravas and Pandavas?
Property.
Property. Artha dispute. It's a property dispute. It's a war for property. It is Krishna that brought in the dynamics of
dharma.
The dharma and adharma and all that. Krishna otherwise it's a very clean. Otherwise, it's a very clean case. It's a very clear, ordinary, simple case. Another property dispute. Clear. Pakistan occupied Kashmir and Ramadi, Indian occupied Kashmir. Eternal Pakistan occupied right. Kashmir. Na, they say India occupied Kashmir. Na, so it is Krishna that brought in the dynamics and said, when this war will come to an end, Krishna's solution is what? Eliminate both the fellows. Eliminate the Kauravas and eliminate the Pandavas. Right. Why of the 45 lakhs and odd men that went into the battlefield, along with the number of elephants and horses and all that, only 7 survived. Krishna was 8 survived. 8. Can you imagine 45 lakhs and odd plus other species going and only 7 surviving? And that 7 who survived sitting and doing tarpana for all the 45 lakhs. What that 19th day would have been? What would have been the quality of their life after that? You sit and do all this. What would be the quality of your life after all this? Now, all this is for what? Artha only, no? So, Krishna has so many angles to it. We can bring in so many angles.
Yeah, correct.
We can bring in so many angles. Depending upon how deep we can penetrate, we can bring in that many angles. And when we are bringing in that many angles, one should not contradict with the other. One should flow into the other. Contradiction, then it is not a new angle, it is blabbering. So there should be a new angle. At the same time, there has to be a continuity with, it has to be in line with the basic idea. Wealth is the product of the effort. Instead of giving that wealth of Arjuna, what are you fighting for? See, Arjuna confesses it, no? In the first chapter. In the second chapter also he confesses. In the first chapter also he confesses by saying, my enjoyments will be marred by their death.
Exactly.
He's saying that. He's saying, my enjoyments will go, no, Krishna. What is the point of this? What is the point of this? Krishna's point is, Arjuna, as a grihastha, your dharma is to acquire wealth only to perform sacrifice. That's where you find in the Puranic stories and all that, when they decide to take up sannyas, first thing they do is they call and distribute to their wealth to everybody. Kathopanishad starts with this yajna called Vishwajit Yajna. Kathopanishad starts with this yajna called Vishwajit Yajna. Nachiketa's father was doing this yajna. In fact, Kathopanishad, the reference of this yajna is there. In no other places this reference has come. we have heard a lot of. Ashwamedha, we have heard a lot.
Right. Ashwamedha.
Rajasuya, we have heard a lot. Even Putrakameshti, we have heard. Vishwajit is this yajna. Vishwajit means what? Vishwa means the world. Jit means conquering. So he is performing yajna to become the master of the world. He is becoming an yajna to become master of the world. The leader of the world, all powerful. In the entire Puranic stories, in the Raghu Vamsha, only the king Raghu did this yajna, and Raghu Vamshala they talk about it. The Raghu Vamsha, they say, Raghu did this yajna, Vishwajit yajna. The Vishwajit and the Vishwajit yajna pannina, and Sayangalam eppadi irukanum? If you have to do this Vishwajit yajna, all your possessions has to be given up, and you should become, that evening you should become a beggar. Once you become a beggar, you become a Vishwajit, no?
Yeah, correct.
Once you become a beggar in that way, you become truly the world leader.
Yeah.
So that is why King Raghu is a great king, Raghu Vamsha. Why this Ikshwaku Vamsa is called Raghu Vamsa? Raghu Vamsa is because of the lineage of the king Raghu. What is it that Raghu did which is extraordinary? He did this Vishwajit yajna. So in the Puranic story, after doing that Vishwajit yajna, the great emperor Raghu was having dinner with his wife in a mud pot. Abdina, what does it mean?
He's given away everything.
Given away everything. Darba grass seat ukandundu, Darbasanathil ukandundu, he was having his dinner in a mud pot, is the story. Definitely Raghu would have become a Vishwajit only. In the Kathopanishad, that fellow didn't become Vishwajit. Why? Because he was giving away that which is
in excess.
He was giving away that which has become useless.
Useless, okay.
The cows, look at the description he gives, a beautiful description with that. The cows that yielded milk once. The cows that drank water once. The cows that used to eat grass once. It has stopped taking food. It has stopped taking water. It is not even able to breathe. That cow is giving away as gift. Nachiketas goes and says, இந்த மாதிரி யஜ்ஞம் பண்றது எங்கேயுமே இல்லையே. Where is it told that you have to perform yajna like this? You should give away cows that yields milk. In fact, he was simply emptying his cupboards, nothing else. He was simply emptying his cupboard so that he can fill it in more. Empty panna for what? So that he can fill it in with more. Why this acquisition? So, in the Vedanta Shastra, in the Vedas, acquiring wealth is a legitimate dharmic thing to do at one level. It is dharmic to acquire wealth at one level. It is dharmic to let go of it at another level. Today, 50% of dharma we follow. Yeah. 50% of dharma we follow. Other side of dharma we don't follow. Since the other side of dharma we don't follow at all, this 50% of dharma also ceases to give any benefit. Yeah, it's like saying, like a joke we say, no. When there is a proposal, when the boy goes and proposes to the girl also has to propose in return. No. 50% of the marriage is done. What? 50% of my love is successful, sir. Why? Because I went and proposed. A complete failure only. Why? Because she didn't propose she didn't respond in return. Are you able to follow? So Vedanta has it legitimately allows you to pursue wealth, and also it says while you are pursuing it for the sake of doing dhanam, yajna karma. At another level, why acquire and do dhanam alna? Simply don't acquire, and that time you dedicate for manana nididhyasana. Are you able to follow? That ways. Instead of wasting time in acquisition and all that, at another point of time, what you do? Simply let go of it, and in that time, what are you supposed to do at that time? Enjoying the retirement life in illa. Mananam and nididhyasana. To do manana and nididhyasana. That wealth which you have acquired after studying all the shastras and after pursuing it in a dharmic way, where it sits on you very lightly, it's not a burden on you, it is not giving you a pressure, it is not giving you any tension, it sits on you very lightly, and that wealth which you can use for your pleasure, you give up, you sacrifice your pleasure so that the other can enjoy that. This is in relation to Dravya Yajna. Is it okay, Bharat? Yeah. Now, one more clarification of Bharat and then I'll come to Bhaskar. Why is fire used? Correct? The second clarification is, why is fire taken as an example for yajna? Fire is the ultimate purifier. Hello? Yeah, yes.
Yeah, because so Guruji, I had this doubt, because the fire is definitely the it grosser than many things, but at least the first gross element where we can touch and feel and things like that.
Yes.
But fire is also taken as an embodiment of destroyer, kind of a thing.
Yes.
So, but yajna is not destroying.
Yes.
It's actually kindling. It's actually bringing up more things. It is
correct. So
I was not able to match that particular definition.
Yes. Correct. Now, fire is used because in yajna karma you are supposed to say namama, namama, namama. You are supposed to negate and assert. In yajna karma, you negate and then you assert. Now, for the very fire there is the symbol of assertion. How do we say fire is the symbol of assertion? Because fire and the consciousness carry a similarity. Fire and pure consciousness carry a similarity. The similarity of fire and the pure consciousness is this. As it enlivens everything around it, it enlivens itself. Again I repeat. consciousness, Brahman and fire. That's why all religions use fire to worship. Why? Because fire has this unique quality. Okay, even sun is fire, no? What is sun? Huge fire. Yajna is a small fire. Candle is a still, but all are fire only. Now, what is fire? Why fire is the symbol of assertion? Namama is negation. Fire is assertion. Now, how do you say fire is assertion? Fire and Brahman carry a similarity. What is the similarity? As it enlivens everything around it, it enlivens itself by itself, and it enlivens everything around it also. That is why we call it as Shuddha Chaitanya, the pure consciousness. The second aspect here is whatever it enlivens is the beauty. Whatever it enlivens, it is unaffected by what it enlivens. Not only it enlivens, it is the Sakshi also. The Sakshi of that which it enlivens. So every time you see the fire, because of the background knowledge you have, the fire is the symbol of assertion, Namama is negation. So fire has the property of Brahman. What is the property of Brahman? It is an enlivener and it is a Sakshi. It is an enlivener and it is a Sakshi. And the Ananda part is missing. Ananda, we have to bring something else. For there is no one object that can give all the three in all the three. But fire is wonderful as in it can talk about these two. What are the two? It enlivens itself and it enlivens everything around it. Second, when it enlivens, it is unaffected by what it enlivens. Unaffected by what it enlivens is what is known as Sakshi Chaitanya. One is the pure consciousness, Second is Sakshi Chaitanya, the witnessing principle. What in English we call as a witnessing principle, no? It is enlivening and witnessing. Fire directly talks about, symbolically represents this. This is the philosophical implication of why fire is taken as an example. Because of the similarity with Brahman. We have to try and understand the similarity with Brahman. Once I connect it to the similarity with Brahman, then I would know why they have taken it as an example. What is the similarity? For which I need to know what is Brahman defined as? Witnesser, enlivener, blissful. Sat, Chit, Ananda. Any words you can use, it doesn't really matter. The witnesser, the enlivener, blissful. Now, fire qualifies these two. The third factor of fire, light. In the light you see it, you know it, and you can never lose it afterwards. That is why Nalla Velichathila Paakanum, they say, no. When you see it in the light of consciousness, you understand it rightly, and you can never lose it after that. In ignorance, if I see something, I always carry a misunderstanding about it. In the light, when I see the same object, I understand it. So the fire is that the buddhi has to have this fire to support to see things rightly. in the buddhic, in the fire illana, it will not be able to see things correctly. What is the fire? When it sees it, it understands it rightly, and that's it. That is why the definition of knowledge we say is knowing it as it is defined as knowledge. Knowing it as it is. Now, what helps you to know it? The knowledge, the light. So these are all the few areas of comparison, which is, so whenever I see fire, I'm reminded of all this. So I make an effort to negate. I use symbolism to remind me of the divine. Beautiful system. Effort is done to negate, and symbolism is used to remind the divine. How can you positively assert the real? You cannot positively assert the real. Adanalada neti is the technique. So neti in soline irundha, like Buddha Madri, Buddhism Madri, you will end up in Shunya at some point of time. He said, no, it is not like that. To negate, you negate through the assertion. Sorry. You negate by saying namama, namama, namama. And how do you assert? Assertion is always done by symbolism. That is why religion is full of symbolism. Why religion is full of symbolism is because the divine can be only symbolized. So when you look at the symbol, you are reminded of the divine. So fire here is used as the symbol. Symbolizing what? Symbolizing the pure consciousness, Brahman. If Brahmana remind Bannaga, it is qualified for Yajna. If it is not reminding me of Brahman, that is why in Yajna Karma we don't use a form. If a particular form use pannona, like a Shiva or a Vishnu or a Shasta or a Subramanya or a Ganesha, edo or form use panna, we get carried away by the entire thinking is restricted to that form and that which is associated with the form. When it comes to fire, natural element, there is nothing that can remind you, there is nothing that can distract you. Sorry, not remind you. There is nothing that can distract you and remind you purely. Purely means what? As I said, it illumines itself and it illumines the Prakriti. As it illumines the Prakriti, it is self-illuminating. Second, whatsoever it illumines, it is unaffected by what it illumines. Marriage ceremony ko ade fire da. Antyeshti karma ko ade fire da. Fire is neither rejoicing nor sorrowful. Antyeshti karma ko the fire doesn't cry. Marriage karma ko the fire doesn't. So fire is, so whatsoever it enlivens, it is unaffected by what it enlivens. The third is, in the light you see it, that's it. You know it forever. That's the power of knowing. That's the power of light. That's the power of knowledge. And fire represents Brahman and fire represents knowledge. Rendu it does. It represents the Brahman and it represents the knowledge too. Therefore, we use fire is taken as an example for Yajna. Not in the sense of, you are right, not in the sense of burner, destroyer. Hmm? Beautiful is the very notion of the fire itself. Acharya used to say, ஏன் திரும்ப fire use பண்றோம்? அது ஒண்ணுதான், it defies gravity. That is his definition. எல்லாம் இப்படி போச்சுன்னா fire தான் இப்படி போறோம். It defies gravity, he said once. எதுக்கு தெரியுமாடா fire யூஸ் பண்றோம்? தெரியல. எதுக்கு தெரியுமான்னா நம்ம ரீசன் எல்லாம் கொடுக்க முடியாது அவங்க கிட்ட. எதுக்கு தெரியுமானா it's a rhetoric question. You have to wait for him to answer. I thought, even today, I thought it is such a wonderful way of saying. Why? எதுக்கு தெரியுமா? என்ன all brings you down, fire. இல்லையா? ரொம்ப டெக்னிக்கல் எல்லாம் சயின்ஸ் ஸ்கூல்ல எல்லாம் போயிடாதீங்க. சிம்பா at a very இதுல it looks like when everything is brought down, fire goes up. It defies gravity as it were. ரூட் எல்லாம் எதுவுமே இல்லையா? அப்படியே போயிட்டு இருக்கும் இல்லையா மேல? மரம் கூட மேல போறதுன்னு சொல்ல முடியாது. ரூட்டை வச்சுக்கிட்டு it is going up. Fire just shoots up. So why we use it is this is the interpretation that I heard from him. I have not heard this from anybody else. This is interpretation I heard from the Acharya. Here he said long back, I remember. Vandan abdi he said, பாரு நெருப்பு எரியும் போது எந்த ஆங்கிள் போட்டாலும் it will turn upwards only. Even if you take the candle and put it upside down, the flame will still be upward only. இல்ல சார் அதெல்லாம் கிராவிட்டி எல்லாம் கிடையாது சார், ஆக்சிஜன் எல்லாம் சொல்லி we can give a scientific explanation for all that, but the symbolic meaning I'm saying. To me personally, I thought it was a wonderful symbolic thing that you see that you have to rise, not candle எடுத்து candle தலைகீழ வச்சா, that's example he gave. நீ candle எடுத்து தலைகீழ வச்சா கூட flame will still be pointing upwards only. So fire is the symbolic representation of going upwards. இது வந்து அவரோட interpretation. First I gave the very traditional orthodox shastric way of interpretation. Now I am giving something which, this is something which inspired me personally. So I am giving that interpretation also. Seriya? Is it okay, Bharat? Yeah. Bhaskar oda last clarification oda we conclude. Dear sir, all the yajnas in chapter 4 of Gita reminds us of a discipline. We were studying that something becomes a discipline only when the remembrance of the divine comes. Okay, Yajna 5, for example, reminds of self-control discipline. How do we link this to divine, sir? Should it remind us that self-control is done to reach moksha? All the yajnas, Bhaskar, you are right. All the yajnas is giving a discipline. It is a discipline. And what is the purpose of a discipline? The purpose of the discipline is to channelize our resources. Discipline means channelizing the resources for the goal of moksha. You are correct. You have to channelize the resources for the goal of moksha. Now, what are the resources that you have? The resources that you have is the senses, the mind, the mind and intellect, the responses. The receipt, reaction, responses is what the resources that you have. The pranas, these are the resources that you have. Since you have these resources, since these are the only resources that you have, all this ought to be disciplined, because in the human being, discipline is a choice. In the case of other species, discipline is not a choice. In the case of a human being, discipline is a choice he has to exercise. Discipline is a choice for a human being. For other species, discipline is not a choice. Nature interferes. Now why would you choose to exercise this choice of discipline? For the higher purpose, which is moksha. For a higher purpose, which is moksha. Are you able to follow? Therefore, it is a discipline only. How do we link this to divine? How do we link this to divine? Two factors in life. One factor is your prayatna, effort. Another factor is your daughter. Parent. Anugraha. Daughter பேர்ல தான் இருக்கு அனுகிரகம். அதுதான் divine. What is the anugraha there? When it is your prayatna, udaredatmanatmanam, when all this is your prayatna and effort and all that, you become completely oblivious to the divine. Therefore, as you are doing prayatna, anugraha also has to be. You need to remember the anugraha also. Yeah. Bhaskar the problem varave varadu. Yeah. Enga ponalum anugraha will be there all the time. So yeah, Bhaskar. That is why the remembrance of the divine is very important. Otherwise, we get carried away in the prayatna fully. We get fully carried away by prayatna and negate the anugraha. Yajna karma, karma yoga is a combination of both. Jnanam, moksham, Vedanta is rising above these two and understanding that you and divine are one and the same. In karma yoga, you do some action and remember divine as an entity that is separate from you. And then you evolve to a very good level of spiritual maturity. Finally, you understand it as, finally you understand what? You and divine are one and the same. Yeah. Tat Tvamasi அப்படிங்கிறதுக்கு மாத்திக்கலாம். Tvam Tat Asiன்னு சொல்லிக்கலாம். That you are-ங்கிறதுக்கு பதிலா you are that. That you are. Tatvamasi. You are that. Aham Brahmasmi. Able to follow? Yes. This is how should it remind us. It should remind you. Otherwise, you will get involved in karma yoga. You will get involved in karma. If anugraha, if you don't remember the grace, you get involved in the prayatna and develop the arrogance of prayatna. And you develop an arrogance of effort. It is the product of my effort. You will develop an arrogance towards it. Now, to offset to that, anugraha comes in. And then finally you say, me and that are one and the same. Seriya? Is it okay, Bhaskar?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Understood.
Yeah. Now, Kandave is saying, if that is the case, as in the reference to what I told Bharat, how we slipped. How we slipped is anirvachaniya, indescribable. You have slipped and you can get back is understandable. How did I slip is how did I slip is a very academic question. It's a very academic question. How did you slip? Are you convinced that you are that in the first place? From that you have slipped. You have developed the conviction that you are that, and you have slipped from there. If you develop the conviction that you are that, straight away you will understand that you never slipped, because all this thing is only a mithya, is only a temporary thing. So you never slipped. Are you all able to follow what I'm saying?
Yes, Ji.
You never, if you are so convinced that you are that, you would know that you never slipped at all. Or the slipping is only a mithya, a temporary thing. Now we are working backwards from the standpoint of where I am convinced that I have slipped and I need to evolve back. We are looking at it from that angle. Seriya?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. With this, we conclude this clarifications on Yajna portion. Conclude na number conclusion ellame temporary conclusion da. We don't permanently conclusively conclusion varave varadu. Yeah. Temporarily we conclude, and we will start again with something else.